Hello and welcome everyone back to Unity Dance TV. So in this channel, I want to inspire worship dancers to stand together, to celebrate one another and cheer on one another. So today I have the honor and privilege to talk with Lynn Hayden. She is a grandma and she also has one daughter. She started something called Dancing for Him Ministry. And that was actually, it started with a fast in 1995 that she'll be sharing about. But something that I love about her is that I started to look for people online, and then I found her and I saw her videos and her teaching videos and also just inspiration video where she was talking. And I'm like, wow, this woman is doing all these things online and I could see the joy of the Lord upon her. I saw when girls grow up and have the longing for dance and worship, I could still see that in her, and that's something I really loved about her. So, hello, Lynn.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you today?
Good, good. Oh,
So, tell us a little bit about how did your life look like before you did any, dance ministry for him?
well, I grew up dancing. I've been dancing, taking lessons, taking class since 1967. So it's like I've always been dancing, and it's just always been my passion. I remember asking my mom when I was little, can I take dance? And she was thinking, well, just because your friend takes it, it's just going to be a phase, just going to be a fad. You'll get over it. And it just became my passion. And from there, I danced in two companies, one in Towson State University when I was a dance major, and then I went on to the Annapolis Ballet Theater, which is now the Maryland Ballet. And, so I've just been dancing all my life. And I also grew up in church and, never knew that you could dance in church. It's just, and one day in 1986, a woman who was a prophetess, and I had never heard of that at the time, I didn't know anything about prophecy, came right up to me and said, "You will dance before the Lord." And I'm thinking, okay, how does she know I'm a dancer, right? And I was just dressed in regular church clothes. I was like, how does she know I dance? And how do you dance for the Lord? What does that even look like? I had no idea. So shortly thereafter.
How old were you then?
Huh?
How old were you then when she gave you?
I was 86. I was in my late 20s, I think. Late 20s, maybe early 30s. And so I went to this workshop right down the street from me, and my eyes were opened. I was like, there was this room filled with people worshiping and dancing for the Lord. And I was like, oh, you can do this in church? It was awesome. So I immediately asked my pastor if I could, get a few ladies together and put a dance together. And he said, well, go for it. So I did. Well, then I heard about the Feast of Tabernacles in Bradenton, Florida. And it was something that they did every year. And it was just a wonderful festival time, worshiping and praising the Lord with banners and drama and dance. And the worship leader, the dance leader there, didn't have a lot of dance experience, but she was an anointed woman of God, chosen, appointed dance leader, to lead the dance ministry there. And long story short, we met. I went to one of their practices, and she asked me to choreograph the visions that God gave her. And I was like, okay. So we did that for like 3 years at the feast. She would share with me what God showed her, and I would make it a dance. I would choreograph it and teach her dancers and, and all that. It was wonderful. So anyway, that's how I, came to, knowing the Lord in dance, was through the workshop and whatnot. And then I was going to, kind of share how Dancing for Him came to be. So I was doing the Feast of Tabernacles with the leader there, and then God moved me to another church. And long story short, my dance leader at that church moved, and my pastor said, "Okay, you're it. You're the dance leader." I'm like, "No, I'm not ready for this. I don't know how to do it. I'm, too nervous to do anything like that." Well, so I became the dance leader. There was only like 3 of us, and it kept doubling in size. It would get like 6 people, and then it would go down to 4, and then it would go up to 8, and then it would, go down to, 6 maybe. And then, it just kept fluctuating like that until it just grew to like 25 people. Well, I wanted to have, I really felt like the Lord wanted me to do little workshops, on like Tuesday nights. And so I wanted to write letters to the area pastors and ask them to ask. Back then, we typed letters. I didn't even have a computer back then. We licked stamps and licked the envelopes and mailed things to the, I'm showing my age here. But anyway, so I was going to write these letters and send them out to the area pastors to let them know about this Tuesday night meeting I was going to have at the church, and little mini workshops. And I was in no hurry to do it. It was like, okay, whatever. And I was sitting in church in the front row one Sunday morning, and I was listening to the pastor preach, this way in the front. But in the back of my head, I heard God's voice very clearly. He said, "Mail the letters right away." And, that was just kind of like, well, whenever, So I stayed after church, borrowed their computer, and, typed up the letters and put them in Monday's mail. Well, Wednesday, I come home from church, and there's 2 messages on my answering machine, showing my age again. So I listened to the messages, and one was from KB Productions in New York. And the other one was from Tom Brooks from Integrity Hosanna Music. And I was like, oh my gosh, well, what do they want and how do they find me? And so I called KB Productions because I was too nervous to talk to Tom Brooks. And I said, well, what is this for? And how did you find me? And she says, well, we were contacting this one church who we knew, and we asked them if they knew somebody that could coordinate the dancers for the Ron Canoli music video, Sing Out. And and I was like, well, but how did you find me? And she said, well, the secretary at that church said, well, we don't have anybody, but I just got this letter on my desk today. This woman might be able to help you. And that was me. And I was like, oh my gosh. So she said she wanted me to choreograph the audition piece, hold 2 auditions in 2 different cities, and coordinate the dancers to be in this production of a music video. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. So I did the 2 auditions. There was over 100 people who auditioned. And in the second audition, some people came down from Christian International, Bishop Bill Hammond's church in Northern Florida, to audition. They liked how I taught. They asked me to come and teach at their arts conference. And so I did. Long story short, and then the people came from all over the country and the world to be at that conference. It was like 300 people there. And so somebody from Alabama said, can you come to my church in Alabama and teach a workshop? I was like, okay. So I did that. And then somebody from Louisiana was at the one in Alabama, and she said, can you come to my church in Louisiana and teach a conference? Sure. And then Texas, we went to Texas, and then, but God mushroomed it. God was the one that spread the word. It was before we had social media. It was before I had a website. And, the conferences just grew and grew and grew. And, they kept doubling in size, and it was just word of mouth. It was, we didn't have social media back then. So anyway.
I love that, what you're sharing, Lynn, about just a small step of obedience, and then he just come and just like blow on it, and he's the one promoting you, he's the marketer, he's the, but you actually also said, yes, because you have to say yes, you have to take the first step, and you have to write the letter. And so I love that you did that and how he just blew on it and still are doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So so when you started, to more partner with God and dance, what was something that you experienced, in your own heart and that you saw that was different from what you've done before?
Well, first of all, the joy of the Lord in the dance, just that being engulfed and enveloped in his presence while dancing, there's nothing like it. I mean, sure, you can pray and you can worship and that's awesome, but there's something about dancing for the Lord and worshiping him while dancing that is just that experience of that intimacy with him. It's a deeper time of intimacy, I believe, with the Lord.
Yeah.
So, experiencing that, but also I found that he really started giving me choreography. He would give me visions for movements and dances and groups and, so, I mean, at one point, 1 year, I was doing like at least one dance a month with the group, if not two. And as we were finished with one big production dance, the Lord was already giving me another one, so it was like, he really just opened my heart and spirit to receive choreography. So, it has just been, a wonderful experience. And plus being able to connect with other, worship dancers. And it was a, wonderful fellowship and all that. So he opened doors, opened many doors of opportunity for teaching and that. So until finally the online school, and so.
That's good. So, the whole journey, from you started the school and went forward and all these amazing things happened, you traveled around. Did you ever experience anything like bumps or hardship or just feeling, struggles on the journey?
My struggles mostly were physical. It seemed like I always had some kind of injury. Also, I've had 2 kidney transplants, was on dialysis twice. There's always some kind of a muscle strain. It was like I had it, and for a while there, it was like this attack almost on my physical body. And so, I just prayed through it, and sometimes God healed me, even there was one time I was doing a penché, it was like, for those that don't know, a penché is like you're standing on one leg and the other leg goes up in the air behind you. And there was this pop and it was like, oh no, I crumbled to the ground and it was so painful. I pulled a muscle in my groin and it took like 6 months for that to heal. But anyway, it was right before getting ready to go to a conference. And I went anyway, even though I was in pain. And here I was teaching this whole conference while I was in pain. And the Lord was faithful to heal me while I was there. So it was during that, act of obedience, again, of going, and he healed me. So I think that's been my biggest struggle has been, in physical pain and ailments and strains and things like that. And when I first started worship dancing, I struggled with, moving out into the dance. Like I had total permission from my pastor. He said, whenever you feel led, you go right ahead and dance, and so there I am in the pew, doing like this. And it's like, I really sense that the Lord wants me to move out of the aisle, into the aisle and up front or whatever and dance. But then I was like, okay, well, is it you, Lord, or is it me? I don't want to be seen, but I want you to be seen, but don't show me. But, they've got to see me in order to see you in the dance. So I had that internal struggle of should I? And so finally, I would go ahead and be obedient to that, that nudging from the Holy Spirit to go. And people would always come up afterwards and say, I'm so glad you danced. It really blessed me. It took me to another level, in him. And, I was able, it made me more free to, raise my hands and things like that. So I heard that often, that when we're obedient to step out and dance, even if we feel intimidated, I mean, if we have permission, of course, it tends to bring others to another level for them. So like if somebody was just a toe tapper, they may do a little hop. If somebody was kind of like this, they might raise their hands and wave or something, So it's, the enemy would try to keep us from doing what God's called us to do. But when we're obedient to do, and step out, then it actually frees up other people. So,
then you kind of had, some physical, external struggles, but then also internal for like stepping out. And what is something you can tell to other, worship dancers that are in church and they maybe feel, and they also have permission to dance, like, to go in front or to dance bigger movement, but then, fear is stopping them, or they just feel shy. Like, how do they overcome that?
Well, the Bible talks about the fear of man. And, we tend to struggle with that. And, but God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of love, power, and a sound mind. And when we have the permission and we have that unction, then, we should just go ahead and step out, go and be obedient to do it. Even if it's just maybe moving out of the pew or the row into the aisle a little bit, like just like right next to it, even maybe raising the hand a little bit bigger than you would in the seat, when you take that step, it becomes even a little easier to, really begin to flow. And then when you know that you are covered, you have the permission and it's okay, and then you begin to step out more, you receive more freedom and you receive that wonderful presence of the Lord. And, then people sometimes can get healed and delivered. It's just a wonderful thing. Just step out, even if it's in your prayer closet, even if you're, just at home, instead of maybe sitting in the chair or sitting on wherever you have your prayer time, maybe worship dance, put the music on and just worship in your closet, your room, wherever you are, and just get comfortable with the Lord in that. It's a wonderful thing.
That's good. It's a good advice, just to step out and do it.
Mm-hmm.
So how does your life with worship dance and your ministry, how does that look like from a day-to-day basis?
Well, because God orchestrated everything, and God's the one that, just expanded the ministry, multiplied. Years ago, I had it in my heart to have a school, and it just wasn't the right time. And in fact, you mentioned about the fasting. I fasted and prayed for 30 days and didn't get anything, no vision, nothing, until the 30th day. And the Lord showed me a vision of a school. But back then, it was in 95, I believe. And but back then, in the vision was a physical building. And because that's all I knew at the time. There was no, I don't think there was even YouTube at that time. There was no YouTube, there was no Facebook, there was none of that. And in fact, like I said, I didn't even have a computer back then. But I had this vision for a dance school. And so years went by. I said, Lord, where's the vision? When's the vision going to come to pass? When is that time? Where's the location? I constantly, seeking him about it. And then in 2011, I think, or 2010, I can't remember. I think it was 2011. I fell sick. I had to go on dialysis. I was very, very sick. And I thought, all these years the ministry had been built up. I thought, well, if I die prematurely, I don't want the ministry to die with me. And, Lord, I really am ready for this school. And he gave me the idea for doing it online. And so I was talking with somebody on the phone one time, and I said, Lord gave me this vision for the school to do it online. I said, I don't know how to write a curriculum. How do you write a curriculum? I mean, that would take years. And she said, Pastor Lynn, you've got your curriculum in your DVDs. You've been working for 20 years to get your curriculum. And it was like, oh, that's right. And then I prayed, and the Lord just downloaded the courses, and I just typed it, and there it was. And people signed up, I mean, right away. And it's just grown and grown and grown and grown ever since. And so God still gave me the vision that I had back in 95, but it looks different now in today's standards, with all the DVDs and the digital downloads and the books. And so now it's in Moodle, which is an actual school program. So we didn't have that technology back then, but God saw the timing. God knew when it was supposed to happen. And I've seen people go through the school, and they've just grown tremendously, and they've gone on to their own ministries and their own workshops, and they've written their own books. And so it's just the act of obedience, and keep pressing into the Lord, and he'll do what he promises. So
I love how you just talk about obedience and taking step out, and and just he will show up. And so what are something that you see for the, if we can call it like the worship dance movement, or because for 10 years ago it wasn't that normal, like it's, and still I think there are different churches that really don't understand what it is. And so what is something that you see it's on God's heart for this next season with worship dance?
Well, it's tough to say, because there are pockets who have not embraced it or don't agree with it, or maybe they're even a little afraid that it would be a distraction and whatnot, and that. But there are, I dare say, millions of churches that do embrace the arts and embrace the dance. And it seems like, I can't say that there are less dance teams and more of unity in motion, corporate movement. We're coming into a time where there's more corporate movement, where people will lead the congregation in movement, and that. But there is still, there are still teams that dance. There are still individuals that dance in church. Also, I see more of evangelism, in dance ministry, people taking it to the streets, and, out of the four walls and into the streets. And also, people are more accepting now of ministry through the dance, not just ministering on the platform as, like a performance, but literally ministering the Father's heart to the heart of the people, making that direct contact with the people, looking them in the eyes. The eye gate is the window to the soul. And so the Jesus that lives in us, when we look into another person, we're looking into their soul, and it just breaks something, and it ministers the Father's heart to the heart of another. And so more and more churches are becoming more accepting of artistic ministry, utilizing the arts in ministry. I've seen, painting art, prophetic art with prophetic dance, so it's really, I think, becoming more accepted, more embraced, so.
Good. You want to see that happen.
Mm-hmm.
So what are some advice that you can give to people that see this and, they just feel the desire and hope and calling from God, but they just, have too much fear? or they feel insecure, or maybe actually their pastor doesn't support them. I mean, what are some advice that you can speak into their heart and their situation today?
Yeah, I would say, one, continue to pray and worship and dance in your prayer closet. Just even if that's the only outlet that you have at the moment, go ahead and do that. Look on, YouTube. There are so many videos now, or, go to Dancing for Him and see my instructional videos, things like that. But also connecting with other worship dancers. Maybe attend a conference somewhere. There are conferences going on, not just mine, but I mean, there are conferences going on all over the world. Just do a Google search, worship dance conference in such and such a city, and connect with people that way. Join an online school, a worship dance school, or, and like you have such a connection with the students, even in your school. I've read the testimonies where, they felt such a connection, with the other students in the school. That my school is the same way. People get connected that way. So when you connect with other dancers, other worship dancers, you have that support system. And, it's very encouraging, very supportive. And, if the church that you're in does not allow dance, that's okay. They may not be quite ready for that. And that's okay. God may have you in that place, in that church for a season to receive the word, to get teaching, to grow in Him, to grow in the Lord. And you may possibly for a season have to have that worship dance outlet for yourself elsewhere. And that's okay too, in your prayer closet, or like connecting, in groups or conferences and things like that. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, that's good. I love that. So I want to finish this up with asking how people can connect with you, and also what are some services and products that you can offer to other people.
Oh, sure. Thank you. I would go to dancingforhim.com, dancingforhim.com, dancingforhim.com. And there you'll find out about the online school. There are many resources. There's 33 different instructional videos or digital downloads or DVDs. There are at least 8 books, all related to worship dance, praise dance, from choreography to artistic ministry, prophetic dance, modern dance, ballet, all these instructional videos and books and things. And then the conferences as well. So go to dancingforhim.com, and I would love to see you at a conference or in the online school. So that's how you can connect.
Thank you so much for your time and sharing your heart with us. I bless your ministry and all your conferences and students, and I'm looking forward to one day come myself to connect with you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure, and I hope to get together with you sometime. All right. God bless. Thank you.